Are we going?
Yes.
Hi.
I think, yep.
Wait, it is? Is the numbers going? That means you're going. That's on. Okay. Action. Okay, well, there was no stumbling on that start. Sorry, guys. Tonight we're doing a red velvet cake with cream cheese frosting. I have somebody's birthday in the morning. They wanted a cake for tomorrow, and they're going to be picking it up first thing in the morning, so I wanted to make it later in the day so that it would be completely fresh tomorrow morning because they're coming to get it early. So red velvet cake is kind of different. You don't just make a vanilla cake and put red food coloring in it. That's not what it is. The red velvet cake is much different because we use buttermilks and we do different things with the eggs. We use them differently. We use the whites differently than we use the yolks. So this is going to be a process. So you got to hang in there with me, and I'm going to tell you the process. It's kind of cool though. It's quite a process. The first thing we're going to do is, you know, the other day we did this with the breads where we sprayed the pan and then we laid down the parchment. Well, today, because it's a cake and I need it to come out perfectly, but I also need the edges and everything to be perfect. So this time I did not, like last time, I just kind of let the bread, the extra piece come over the side. No way. Today I'm doing it where I cut it with the scissors to fit my parchment paper exactly so that we won't have that funny little edge. And then it says to also spray the parchment paper itself so it'll come off easy and won't take the cake off with it. So we're going to do that to the next one. And again, I'm using Baker's Joy today. I like Baker's Joy because it has the flour and everything already in it. Okay, so here we go. And again, I cut it to the exact size today. The extra pieces on the side of them I held off so I could use them for other things. I did not throw them away. I'll be using them on other cooking things. So again, Mary, haven't wasted anything yet. Okay, there we go. Our two pans are there. My oven is on 350 and it's getting warm as we speak. So we're going to start out with the flour parts. The recipe calls for 3 cups of cake flour. I don't have cake flour, but I did research to make sure that I could use regular all-purpose flour. So the difference between cake flour and all-purpose flour are 2 things. One, cake flour has been sifted several times to make it really fine, and therefore it folds in better and it does a better job of combining as an ingredient and not. And the second part of it is, and the other part is that regular flour has more gluten when you process it because of what it is. So cake flour has less gluten when it's processing. So anyways, I'm going to, I've already gotten my 3 cups of flour, which are right in here. I did this already a couple of times just so you can see me do it the last time. In here is 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 tablespoons of unsweetened natural cocoa powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And the way I'm making it usable like a cake flour is I am sifting it more than once. And if you looked at it right now, you would see that it actually is pretty fine already. But I'm going to go and sift it another time just to get it as fine as I can, and therefore is a lot, when it'll be done, it'll be a lot like the cake flour that you buy. The only difference, of course, will be the gluten in it. But I think it'll process better if it's thinner like the cake flour is. So I'm going through it the last time here. I'm doing it one more time. Sifting with my good old-fashioned sifter that my sweetie man got me at a lawn sale one day, which was really exciting when we came through and found this at the lawn sale because nobody sifts anymore. But see how fine that is? This is, I've done this a couple of times. Actually, you know what? That looks really good, but I think I'm going to sift it one more time. Let's see how fine that is again. I'm going to go through one more time. Just turn it right around and put it right back through. When you're getting your 3 cups of flours out, they want to make sure that you level off the top. This is the kind of cake where you don't want extra of anything dry or anything. You have to have exact amount. Except for those little tiny things I just dropped on the stove, I guess. I did drop a little bit on the stove. So one last time, I'm going to run it through one more time. You're going to see how it's even more fine when I run it through again. This is the 3rd or 4th time. I think it's I don't remember. But anyways, see each time I do it how it gets finer and finer. And anything that's clumped or anything stays here on the top. And then I just toss it in the garbage. And I am done. So there's our flour product that has our cocoa and everything in it. So Again, that was flour and cocoa and baking soda and salt. So we're just going to leave that off to the side for a minute. And we're heading on over here where we're all set up. So the other thing about this is everything's already pretty much pre-measured because the directions say they want everything at room temperature. They want the eggs at room temperature, the buttermilk at room temperature. Everything has to be and the actual butter itself, everything has to be room temperature. So I put this stuff out a couple of hours ago to make sure, even the cream cheese later on, everything has to be room temperature. And I checked out on that, and that's because it also, it says here actually why everything has to be at room temperature. It says when everything is near the same temperature, they mix together easily and evenly and produce a uniform texture. And it's important in this cake to have a uniform texture. So here we go. Making the cake. So we've got the flour and everything set aside. We whisked it 3 or 4 times and it's just as soft as it can be. So right now we're going to go on our standalone mixer and we're going to beat the butter, which is a 1/2 cup of softened butter, and it's right here, all set. They wanted, they suggested that you use unsalted butter, but I don't happen to have any on me. It wasn't you had to, but they suggested you do it. Okay, the butter, sugar, 2 cups of sugar. So I'm going over here and grabbing 2 cups of sugar, just regular granulated. Here, so I knew I had the cup here somewhere. These two are going to go together first. There's a lot of mixing between this and mixing between that, so you got to pay attention on this. And everything starts out at room temperature. Nothing. As a matter of fact, I got nervous because I left my vinegar in the refrigerator. And yes, you need vinegar in here. And I was like, oh my God, is that going to ruin everything? Ah! So there we go. So we're going to start with the butter and the sugar. We're going to put on medium high, and then we're going to for about a minute. And then when it goes to when it's really mixed together, I'm going to scrape it all off the bottom and everything and add more ingredients. So here we go. Butter and sugar. Oh, I didn't. I didn't put the bowl. That's so funny. I had it stuck there, and I was going to put it down later, and I didn't lock it in place. That is funny. Okay, so here we go. Please tell me I didn't pick the only thing of butter that came out of the freezer. The other 2 came out of the fridge. Absolutely. I grabbed the one that came out of the freezer and not the fridge. That is awesome. So this had a lot more defrosting to go. Anyways, it's all set. Okay. So, kind of got it. I'm going to turn it back on in a minute once I've got it.
Makes you think you grabbed the wrong one.
Because the other ones, this seems to still be a little bit, not hard, but it's just not falling apart quickly like something that's been sitting on the shelf from the refrigerator for a couple of hours. One came from the freezer, the other 2 came from the fridge, and this, obviously I grabbed the wrong one. Well, I'd have to use it anyway, either now or with the frosting, so I guess it's better now. Okay, you can see how wonderful that is mixed together. So I'm going to take a minute, I'm going to knock it off of here. I'm going to take a minute and unlock this and just scrape it all down. We're going to add some more ingredients while I've got it out here and I don't have to work around the paddle. See how wonderful that is together already? Okay, then I'm going to add the oil, which there is 1 cup of vegetable oil. Today we're using canola. There's the 1 cup. I use canola or corn oil or vegetable oil. I save my olive oil for right there on the stove when I'm doing special cooking in the frying pan, you know, when you're doing stir fries and stuff like that. So, and then the next thing you do is there's 4 eggs in this recipe, and again, they're all at room temperature. You can see they've been sitting here for a little while. No, not a while, a while to get to room temperature. In this case, we're taking only the egg yolks right now. So there they go. 4 egg yolks go in there. The vanilla extract, which is 1 tablespoon, which is over here. Not 1 teaspoon, 1 tablespoon. That's not a mistake. It is 1 tablespoon. And the vinegar, which at first I was like, what the heck, vinegar? Seriously? Why would I want vinegar? but it says the vinegar helps break down the red color, and don't get scared. A touch of vinegar is normal in red velvet desserts, and you can't taste it separately. So the vinegar in here is 1 teaspoon, which when they were like vinegar, I was shocked. But saying do it, so I'm doing it. So we're doing that 1 vinegar right now. 1 teaspoon. And probably the vanilla's more. I don't know. I'm thinking, I don't know. It says that it's not going to hurt. Not going to have any harm to it if you put vinegar in here. So, but it helps break down that red color. Okay. Now, we are going to beat this on high for about 2 minutes. Work my way up so it doesn't go all over the place. Again, this is the first time I've made this, so it's kind of exciting. You know how much I like to make new things together. So red velvet cake has a couple of things in here. Again, you can't just make a vanilla cake, throw red food coloring in and say, there, I made you a red velvet cake. That is not a red velvet cake. A vanilla cake does not have all these odd things. It's not going to use the yolk separately from, we're going to use the whites in a minute, but we're going to incorporate it differently. We're not going to just throw it right in. All of your stuff is at room temperature. Buttermilk instead of regular milk. I mean, there's so many different things to this that I never guessed until I got out some really good recipes, and I'm just checking the time behind you, and saw that going together. And I've never used in my life anything 1 tablespoon of vanilla. That's a first for me to use that much at a time. I like the fact that, you know, the flour is really fine. I've got it sifted down so it's just like a cake flour right now. So that's going to be nice. Let's see what else. There is quite a difference, because I made a vanilla cake for somebody recently. I'm going to stop in the middle and scrape it down a little, just to make sure it's all getting incorporated, and then I'm going to start it for the next, what's left of the next minute.
You buy a new thing for it, you wouldn't have to do that.
I know. It's funny you say that, because you haven't been with me taping the last few times. And I did say, you know, the one that I had bought for Danielle, we had bought for Danielle for Christmas. And, oh yeah, I said, I really want one of those. Because it's really kind of cool. It already has
That's why I said it.
Yeah. So, I think I definitely want to do that. I got online the other day and I was like, oh, I'm not going to order just 1 item though. So I'm going to wait until I need more than 1 thing. That way there's no shipping. Okay. I'm going to put this stuff in here on my way. Hmm?
It's supposed to be on high.
It says on high. That's a good eye. Well, you want it on nuclear, or like it says in the movie, go to plaid? You want me to go to plaid? What is that? It's a spoof on Star Wars. I can't remember the name of the movie. What is it? It's Mel Brooks, anyways. It's one of my favorite movies. I can't think of it right in a second. There you go. That's all set. All right. Spaceballs. There you go. Spaceballs. You want me to go to plaid? Turn it on ridiculous and go to plaid? I think that is so funny. You don't like that movie. I've tried to have you watch it a couple of times and you're like, yeah, not funny, not laughing. I laughed through the whole thing. Okay, so from here, what we do with the mixer on really low now, we're going to start adding our buttermilk that we've got going on here alternately with our dry ingredients. So, and I mean, where else have you ever been where you've made a chocolate cake? I mean, a white cake, a vanilla cake. Essentially, it's supposed to be like a vanilla cake, but you're putting the red, but you've got cocoa in here. I thought that was pretty interesting too. That was the other thing I wanted to mention about the ingredients, that you're doing a white cake essentially, but you're adding cocoa. So that must help with the red coloring. It's kind of fun. It's a whole different way of doing stuff here. And in goes my milk. Okay. Slowly. Very slowly. I don't know, can you see what's going on in there? Can you get close enough to see what's really happening in there? It's kind of turning color. I'm going to add a little bit more of this. It says to do it in 2 or 3 intervals, so So that I am doing. I'm going to go on this side so we can keep going taping on that side. Actually, yeah. I could stop in a couple of minutes here and get the stuff off the side because, yep, I don't have the scraper yet. All right. I'll wait till I add all of it, I guess. There. Getting there in intervals. Now she talks about when we get what's next is going to be the food coloring. She talks about the food coloring. The woman who did this recipe. What is her name? I don't think they give it to me.
Who she?
Yeah, they don't give me her name on here. I'd love to give her credit. I'd totally love to give her credit. Oh, Sally's Baking Addiction is where it comes from. So Sally. When Sally talks about it, she said that she uses, because you can use food coloring, you can use food gel. They talk about a few different things in here. I'll turn this off so make sure you can hear me. They talk about, it says the amount of food coloring is up to you. She tests it with varying amounts. To get a dark red, you see here in the picture that I had on the internet, use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of liquid food coloring. Here is a red food coloring just specifically for this. Or 2 teaspoons of gel food coloring because it's much more concentrated than a gel. If you've ever decorated cakes, you would know what the gel is like. It's really super concentrated. She said dye the batter until you're pleased with the color, or you can use beet powder if you want a natural food coloring, because I'm going to do my disclaimer here right now. I do not like red food coloring. I do not like to use it. I'm not excited about it because it's one of those things that are it's tied to kind of some health problems if you already have health problems. But you know, if you're healthy and young like this girl is, then I guess it's going to be all right to use red food coloring. But an alternative is beet. Right here, it's talking about using beet powder, and that's got the natural red in it, and the beet powder comes from beets, so everything works out fine on that one. So I'm going to lift this up for a minute while we got it stopped so I can add the rest of the flour in, because I can see that it's kind of not hitting its mark when I'm doing it from the side. There. And we will put the rest of it in here, put the rest of the milk. I'm going to beat it up a little bit more. And then I'm going to scrape it from the sides, and then we'll start adding red to see where we're going to head in this direction. Okay, here's the rest of the, you can smell the buttermilk. It's a different kind of smell, and then of course that activates with the little bit of vinegar that's in there too. So this cake has a completely different aroma of any cake I've ever made, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually really cool. I'm just saying it's got a different aroma for sure. You can tell it's completely different. And I haven't even touched my egg whites yet. Wait till you see what we do with the egg whites next. So I want to scrape the sides one more time after we get going. But let's go in here and get this mixed up, this last bit. While that's mixing, I wanted to show you earlier we talked about the fact that we can, I went on extolling the virtues of freezing milk. And remember we had this. Well, this has still got a big chunk of ice in it because and it's been on the counter trying to defrost. But look how it's already turned white once it starts defrosting. See, it's no longer that dark yellow that we had earlier. So once it starts doing its thing and you shake it once, it's all white again. I just wanted to show you that because, you know, it's kind of cool to see what we were talking about. As you can see, when that's done, there's not a ton of milk that was left in there. Okay, I'm going to take this for a minute. I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to smack it on the side a little bit to get some off for a minute, because I want to scrape everything. And then we're going to start adding the red food coloring. There's been a couple of cake recipes in my life that have been a little labor intensive, and this one's just right up there with being a bit labor intensive as different. Like a lot of the cakes that we've made and a lot of the things we've baked, brownies and this and that, we just add all the ingredients to it, you know, and hit the beat button, or you do all the liquids and then you take it off There's no more beating because you'll put the flour in. I mean, everything's, but this one's got all these steps and stages, and you're even separating your eggs, and you'll see what that does because that's even got a cooler property to it. So I'm gonna wash my hands one more time here. So I wanna, I'm a little sticky there. There we go. So I'm going to, I want to go like this and get this off of here. That's why I wash my hands one more time, and I'm going to do it one more time in a second. I want to get the thing back on here, beat it one more time afterwards, because once you've got it all incorporated, then I'm going to start adding the red. I don't want it to, we're adding a lot of air here, but wait till you see what the whites do. That's even cooler. So I'm not even going to get a chance to see how wonderful this tastes, so I'm hoping that my client that I'm making it for is going to at least let me know how wonderful it is, because I've never tasted it before, so I'm very excited. Okay, now we're going to start adding food color, red food color. So they had talked about on the back, remember this isn't gel, this one is the liquid, so we're going to go to the liquid. It's 2 to 3 tablespoons of liquid. So here's one. Well, I guess I probably should just take this off so I can pour it. That would be so much easier. Why, yes, Paula, it would. There you go. There's one. I'm going to go between just to see how it goes. I don't want it to be too high. It does never said to do this one at high. This one's always low. Okay, there's that core in the middle that's still not colored yet, so I'm going to do a little bit like this so I can see how much. Oh yeah, I can see it's going to need another tablespoon. Now that you, in some places it was deep, beet, dark red, but now that you incorporated that center core that hadn't been colored yet, yep, I can see I'm definitely going to need another one for sure. All right, so. So here we go with the next one. Another tablespoon. Whoa, almost. I'm gonna have to go get my other set out if this doesn't do it. What? I always had the red. Why did I have the red? There was a reason. I was doing something that needed a lot of red, so I got a red on its own. I can't remember why I had it. Okay. So that's good, because I certainly would not have had enough in a regular, like you buy those sets where they've got the 5 or 6 colors together. That would not have been enough. Okay, that's as high as I dare beat that. So nervous about continuing to beat it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to, what, honey?
Hardly mixed it.
Yeah, I'm not going to put this on the beater anymore. I'm a little nervous about continuing to beat it, because this is not a cake you want to overbeat, and it's not a cake you want to overcook. So I'm going to get everything off of here, and now's the time to play with the eggs. We're going to go over to another spot here and work on the eggs, because I'm going to actually spoon this together. There's still some color on the side here, so I'm actually going to use the spatula to put it right there. That'll work. So there's some color up here on the side that hasn't been incorporated yet. So I guess the beater was the best idea for this part. I probably should just be doing it by hand, because see, oh, there's a whole bunch of it up here that hasn't even been touched yet. And you guys see it that I've been getting off the sides here. What a fun color, and that's what it's supposed to look like. Isn't that cool? Isn't that neat, guys? Look at that. That is really cool. This is my first time making this, so I guess I've seen it made, and maybe on TV or something, or I've read recipes and, you know, understood what was supposed to happen, but I've never actually physically seen it until now. So I'm going to stop right here for a second. We're going to take our eggs, which got a little food coloring in them. We're going to take our eggs over here, and I'm going to this station, and what we're going to do with them is we are going to, on high speed, we're going to do it until, we're going to beat them up until they make fluffy peaks. So I got just like when you're making meringue or something, there's a little food coloring in there. That is hysterical. So that's all right. Making them a little red. That's no big deal. All right. So we're gonna do them just like if we're making meringue or something. So here we go. Purposely don't have it on the stove so the heat won't affect them. I purposely got it over here away from the heat. I just didn't have room on the baking station to do this. There we go. See how it's starting? Remember when the first thing we did together, we made maple frosting. And what we had to do to start with maple frosting is we had to take egg whites and we had to stiff them. That's what we did on maple frosting. We're doing the exact same thing with this, is we're just making these egg whites stiff, just like that maple frosting. You can already see it's almost there. You can tell you're getting close and you can see the pattern of the beater behind it. See? You know you're almost there. You're close. And there you are. Well, I think I would like to go a little further though. That's too much stiff. That is a stiff peak, but I'm going further. Check that out. All right, so there we go. We have our stiff peaks. Now what we do is we bring this. So we use 4 eggs when we're done. We just start with the yolks at one time, and then we do the whites at a different time. And then we gently fold into the cake batter. We're not doing any more beating at this point. We're just gonna gently fold. We don't want to play with it a lot because remember, really, basically what this is air. I mean, you know, it's got the egg white in it and everything, but we put air underneath there on purpose. We filled it with air. So the eggs are working differently in this batter. Again, another difference from if you're just making a vanilla batter and just saying, oh, I'll just put I'll just put red food coloring in it. Can't do, because this is a whole, and we fold. Folding means like this. Don't work it a lot. Don't stand here and beat it. It means fold until you don't see it anymore. It's going to end up being silky and slightly thick. So fold, fold. And it is becoming thick. It's definitely becoming thicker. It must have everything to do with that air we just stuck in there too. There we go. Fold. See, I'm not stirring per se. I am taking a minute every now and then to scrape the sides, but I'm still folding. So I'm not ruining that air that went in there. Oh, it is getting really slick. It's definitely thick. I'm reaching to the bottom, so I want some of this in every part. I don't want to overwork it, so I'm only trying to do it till I don't see it anymore. And see, it's still maintaining that pretty red color, but look at all that air. You can see the air popping when we are folding it. You can see the air in it. Use this to get some of this off the upper part here. I know, Tim, it's a long time. It's a long process cake, and that's why I asked you to please tape it for me, because it does have a lot of steps to it. There's nothing quick or normal about one of these cakes. Fold, fold, and fold. And it's gone. There. Now what we're going to do is divide it between the 2 pans. We're going to cook it for 30 to 32 minutes. Normally I would say, oh, I'm going to put this in the pan eventually, but I'm worried about the air coming out of these, so we're actually going to put it in the pan together. Sorry, Tim, but we're actually going to do it together right now and get it in the oven. So, evenly between the pans, so whatever you do for one, try to do for the other. So here we go. Look at all that air every time I pick up a spatula full. Oop, there was some on the back of that spatula. The aroma's coming off of this. I can't remember making a cake that emitted so many smells to it, with that buttermilk in it, and then you can see all these different things too as I'm scraping it off of here. You can see them in there. This is going to be a really cool cake. I hope she takes the time to tell me what she thinks. This is so different. Now, and sometimes when you do this cake, you put them in smaller. She wanted them in square pans, not round, so that's why I'm in square. 9-inch, two 9-inch squares. I'm going to make 2 layers with it. But sometimes the fun thing about this cake is you make 3 smaller squares and you make 3 layers out of it. But she said she wanted 2 layers, so we're going with 2. And good thing, because I don't think I have 3 smaller. I know I have 2 of every size, but I don't know if I have 3. Doesn't that look wonderful? Look at that color, you guys. That is amazing. This is quite the cake. I'm wondering if I should have just... What do we have for time on that, Tim? Should say it up in the top.
31.
Yeah, so I think what we can do is, if you want, we can stop this taping now. We'll get these into the oven and we'll start taping again for the frosting. How's that? So that you won't have like a forever for super long video, okay? So see you soon for frosting. Bye.